Some time back, we brought you the trail of pollution in the rivers of Nairobi River Basin, with the biggest cause of that problem being poor management of waste.
We've had a lot of challenges when it comes to health, especially with the children.
Revelation of images like this of people emptying human waste in rivers was just a tip of the iceberg, and they disgusted many. What long-term measures can help solve the problem?
The option is to have on-site treatment.
Almost every area in this city is displaced, but we start with the most displaced.
And what lessons can be picked from best practices presented at an international conference on sanitation held in Nairobi recently?
You need community participation, which is a huge enabling environment.
Lessons from Norway.
For heat distribution, which also burns our waste, are also producing biogas.
Fixing sanitation crisis in Nairobi. Welcome, I'm your host Alex Chamwada, and as usual, we begin with our fact sheet.
Access to proper sanitation in Kenya is a major concern to both the citizens and stakeholders. Statistics indicate that lack of access to basic sanitation, together with poor hygiene practices, results in a severe burden of disease and associated economic costs of about 27 billion Kenya shillings per year.
An estimated 80% of Kenyans do not have access to safely managed sanitation. 75% do not even have access to basic sanitation, and 12.5% defecate in the open.
Nairobi County is badly hit. Statistics from the Water Services Regulatory Board indicate that only half of Nairobians are connected to proper sewerage systems. Nairobi receives about 500 million liters of water per day, and 75% of this water ends up being wastewater. This water ends up in Nairobi rivers, worsening situation in the city, which is now turning out to be an expensive mistake to correct.
The estimated amount to be able to address the sanitation matters within the city are over 250 billion Kenya shillings. So the immediate plan is to talk to the development partners to be able to resource the sanitation master plan, which we have already done. And so far this financial year, we have been able to secure 12 billion Kenya shillings from the African Development Bank to do some critical interventions.
So what is ailing Nairobi's sanitation system? Well, let's start by looking at sewer lines in the city.
Our sewer lines were installed long time ago, 50 to 60 years ago, when Nairobi population was less than 1 million. And the designed pipes were smaller, and these sewers were able to collect and transfer sewer safely that time. There were lesser people in Upper Hill and parts of Kileleshwa.
Nairobi's Eastland is one of the most affected areas of the city due to what stakeholders term as a surge in the population and buildings, thus pressure on the existing sewerage systems that usually burst due to that pressure.
Most of these houses walikuwa na connect sewage kutoka kwa nyumba kwa hii drainage. Wakati mvua ilikuwa inanyesha inakuwa mingi, maji inajaa huko mpaka watu wanaanguka.
We've had a lot of challenges when it comes to health, especially with the children, but it also affects the adults.
Yes, there is a problem, but the question is, how will it be solved and who will solve it? Athi Waterworks Development Agency Chief Executive Officer Engineer Michael Thuita says the agency has embarked on some short-term measures aimed at rehabilitating the sewer systems in Umoja, Parklands and Ruaka, among other areas.
This is a part of the Nairobi Regeneration Program, where we are targeting to connect about 20,000 households within various sectors, and every year the government has set aside about 1 billion to be able to cumulatively and progressively connect the consumers into the already existing trunk sewers. In the informal sectors, we are doing sanitation blocks that can be able to accommodate up to 150 people or to serve 150 people every day. The reason behind that is that in the informal settlement, it is very tricky to do individual connection to the households because they are not demarcated, properly demarcated lines and construction plan. So what we are doing is to provide a number of sanitation blocks, and this financial year alone, we have targeted to do 20 ablution blocks spread across the city.
These lines that we are laying in Umoja will relieve that wastewater need in Umoja. Rather than having it spill all over the roads, having manholes blocked, having children getting sick, preventable illnesses, this will relieve and have a conducive environment where basic sanitation is provided to the Kenyans living in Umoja.
Some time back, we brought you this sorry state of a section of Kibagare River in Ngara, and we went back to see if something had been done about it.
We've been having quick win, fix it programs all across the Nairobi area, from the upper reaches of Dagoretti, coming down into the CBD, and even into the Eastlands areas. We have been going, fixing broken down sewers that are in bad need of rehabilitation, so that to avoid the spillages that are going into the Nairobi River, into the Mathare River, and into the Ngong River basins.
Upon completion, the projects are handed over to Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company for operation and maintenance. Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company has in the recent past been subjected to sharp criticism over management of sewer lines.
The challenge we have is the last time sewer systems were done in the formal areas is 1987. Since then, sewer network has never been upgraded. We have bought several equipment. We have bought 5 flushing units in the last 2 years. We have bought 7 excavators to ensure when sewers block, we respond as fast as possible and open the sewer lines for people not to live in polluted areas.
Matters touching on water and sanitation cut across a function of both national and county governments. While water services are devolved, water resources remain with the national government.
We found out that 66% of our waste is not properly accounted for. That means it's the waste that is going to the rivers. And this is what we are now working on as the county. We have come up with this and draft sewer revolving fund policy, or sanitation revolving fund policy.
Well, it seems that unless the issue of sewer lines is fixed, then black rivers might not stop flowing in Nairobi anytime soon. Sewage from buildings is being drained into Nairobi rivers, and where there are sewer lines, they cannot handle the pressure anymore. Stakeholders are now advocating for innovation in managing wastewater.
Water comes in to facilitate sanitation. So when water comes in, it comes in very clean so that you can use it. But when you finish using it, it will always come out dirty. We want to change the mindset. We always think about bringing in water, but we have paid very little attention to dealing with this dirty water. And the more we don't deal with this dirty water, the more we are killing our clean sources of water. And practically, the thing that we see in all the adverts, in the real estate and so on, there is borehole water, there is electricity, there is security, but we never see the sanitation solution. And therefore, all of us move in and we really don't know where our waste is going to. We end up with black rivers and we are wondering, where is the black coming from? But really the black is coming from you and me.
Well, more water or adequate water does not necessarily mean better sanitation. Still to come.
Children in primary and secondary school need an early introduction to the best practice of water usage.
why traditional sewerage systems alone will not solve the sanitation problem.
What we are really doing is making sure that we are giving the community a really positive experience out of the sanitation, and they know that all of the waste we collect is safely harnessed and then taken to a processing site where we convert that into high quality agricultural inputs.
Also ahead, lessons from Norway.
For heat distribution, which also burns our waste, are also producing biogas.
Welcome back. On this show, we are looking at investment in sanitation as the solution to solving Kenya's pollution challenges, especially pollution of rivers. Kenya's National Development Plan seeks to make basic water and sanitation available to all by the year 2030. And if this is to become a reality, then Kenya needs to borrow some lessons on waste management from some developed countries. Remember, management of waste is key in enhancing proper sanitation. In Norway, waste is not waste. Nothing goes to waste, and recycling has been adopted as one of the key methods of managing waste. Waste is sorted at the source, whether in homes, markets, or industries. Organic waste is eventually used to produce biogas that runs the buses on the public transport system. Sewage and water is recycled too.
We separate some fractions, for instance, we separate glass, and we also separate paper, and we separate, some people, not everybody, but some separates then food disposals. They have different large containers outside their houses, one for paper and one for the rest of the waste. And this is what the city is coming around 1 time a week to collect and bringing to the south of the city here, and it's burning it and producing steam, and the steam is used to heat up the industry in our industrial area. We have a new factory outside the city here where we produce biogas, and then this biogas is used on our buses in this region.
That is why Norway has clean rivers like this one. But in Nairobi, waste management is a menace, with lack of proper sanitation and sewerage systems making it worse. And all manner of waste, including sewage, ends up in rivers, hence dark rivers.
We need to change the way we operate on our day-to-day basis, because every day we wake up, we are using a lot of water, and we are using it only once and throwing it away. Number 2, the sludge that comes from human waste, if properly treated and if properly managed, it is very valuable. Instead of us getting it into the rivers to pollute our rivers, we can be able to make it more useful, convert it to fertilizer, and do some value addition.
Talking of innovation and utilization of waste, this is what formed part of the discussions recently during an international conference on sanitation held at KICC in Nairobi, with organizations such as Sanergy recognized for their non-sewered sanitation solutions. Sanergy works with communities to build affordable sanitation products specifically designed for urban slums, then collect sanitation waste, and finally convert the waste at a centralized facility into valuable end products such as organic fertilizer and insect-based animal feed. The plant is busy on daily basis. Every day they receive 3 lorries, 6 tons each.
So what we are really doing is making sure that we are giving the community a really positive experience out of the sanitation, and they know that all of the waste we collect is safely harnessed and then taken to a processing site where we convert that into high quality agricultural inputs.
Here they produce organic manure.
Trials with our farmers are going well with animal feed and with fertilizer. And really what we want to show once we go full scale is that it is possible to incentivize people in the Kenyan waste management sector to think differently about agricultural inputs, that we can have equally good inputs that serve our Kenyan farmers, because food security again is another challenge as we grow as a country.
You will be surprised that they also produce animal feed. But how?
This is where all the action happens with the animal feed. So what you see in the cages are just adult flies. So these are the ones that, hatch the eggs. So if you can see, if you look at this, we have those small rings there, those tubes there that look like rings. Those are just the eggs that are hatching. So once the eggs hatch, this is what you get. These are very, very young larvae. So these are the ones where we feed on a mixture of organic waste and human waste. Then after about a period of 2 weeks when they feed, you see they've grown now nice and big, right? And this is really great animal feed that is now just simply dried. And then this is what we are doing our trials with the farmers. This is what they feed to the animals. At this stage, just to maintain colony, we let the larvae hatch into pupa, and this is now taken back to the cages to hatch the eggs just to maintain the colony. But right here, this is our animal feed, about 40% rich in protein, very also high in fat content, and great for your pigs and chicken.
Sanergy also intends to produce biogas from the human waste collected from the toilets in Mukuru slums, but this is still on trial.
These are technologies that have been there. For example, the turning of fertilizer from human waste. The animal feed as well that we do with the black soldier fly, we have that technology, for example, in South Africa. What we want to demonstrate in Kenya and in East Africa and to the rest of the world is that it is possible to have all of these processes in one place, running effectively and making sure that at scale we are not only removing waste from the communities and serving residents with clean, accessible and safe sanitation, that it's also possible in our country to produce quality, high quality agricultural inputs that are from Kenya and that are sustainable.
Indeed, it is an initiative that is transforming lives.
We are about roughly 37 staff. We are working here, and this plant has really created a job to most of our staff, or most of the people around this area.
And this is their future plan.
We still have a lot more people living in slums who still don't have access. We would like, to talk with government and to partner at scale to make sure that we are serving thousands more.
Sanitation for all.
During the sanitation conference, addressing governance bottlenecks by clearly defining roles and responsibilities of various government institutions at national and county level was cited as one of the short-term measures to address sanitation crisis in Kenya. Consolidation and strengthening of monitoring and evaluation systems at both levels of government was also emphasized. Among the long-term measures, the ministry in charge of water and sanitation also underscored the need to introduce a curriculum on best practices in water usage in primary and secondary schools.
Children in primary and secondary school need an early introduction to the best practice of water usage so as to avoid tendencies that could lead to wastage and pollution. In this regard, I'm directing the Ministry of Education to introduce a compulsory curriculum on water and sanitation in all our schools.
For all these services, water sanitation and hygiene, you need multiple stakeholders to work in the space. You need the duty bearers, which are government, but also you need non-state actors like the private sector, international, non-governmental organizations, local civil society organizations, but also you need community participation. And for all of that to interact and lead to increasing access, you need an enabling environment. And the main stakeholder responsible for providing that is government.
On that note, we call it a day. Remember, you have a role to play in fixing Kenya's sanitation challenges. Attitude, responsibility, discipline, just to pick a few values that rope us in. Many thanks for watching, and until we meet again next time, bye-bye.